For the past 10 years, if you were looking to buy the ultimate off-road variant of the Tacoma, you were looking at a TRD Pro. In fact, when Toyota introduced the all-new 4th generation Taco last year, not only did they continue the TRD Pro nameplate, but they also expanded on their off-road heritage with the introduction of this vehicle. This is the very first ever Tacoma Trailhunter. It essentially sits right next to the TRD Pro in the Tacoma's off-road hierarchy. However, unlike the Pro, this model here is designed more for serious overlanding excursions because it has a unique suspension and style setup, and it also has underneath the hood the same iForce Max hybrid powertrain, making it the only hybrid in the mid-size pickup truck segment. Now, this week, as you can see, Toyota has loaned us the latest 2025 Tacoma Trailhunter, painted in this very unique color called bronze oxide. And the big question I went into, for those of you who are looking for the ultimate off-road mid-size truck for your overlanding excursions, has Toyota managed to create the perfect vehicle with this all-new Trailhunter? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the unique exterior styling of the Tacoma Trailhunter, I thought I'd pop the hood and remind you guys what's powering this thing. Now, of course, the big story with this generation Tacoma is that V6 engine is gone, replaced by essentially two iForce Max engines. They are both now turbocharged 4-cylinder. This, however, has the electric assist, making it a full hybrid. Now, as you can see underneath the hood, it kind of looks like a mess. I'm actually surprised that Toyota didn't want to put some kind of engine cover here, but at least you can see, of course, a lot of the componentry here. You can see the orange wiring for the full hybrid system, but what you're essentially looking at is a new engine. It's a 2.4-liter gasoline direct injection turbocharged 4-cylinder that's augmented by a 36-kilowatt electric motor. That electric motor essentially is sandwiched between the engine and the 8-speed automatic transmission. The engine on its own makes like 278 horsepower. The electric motor adds around 48 horsepower and 184 foot-pounds of torque. When you combine the output, this particular trim makes 323 horsepower. That's actually 3 less versus the other variants of the iForce Max, and that's because of the high-clearance snorkel that you see over on the passenger side A-pillar. Torque remains the same at 465 pound-feet. Like I said, it all goes out through an 8-speed automatic, and Toyota's part-time 4-wheel drive system is standard with the hybrid powertrain. It also includes a locking rear differential, and you also get a stability or a front sway bar disconnect system on this model, in addition to the TRD Pro, along with their multi-terrain select. Fuel economy, of course, this is a hybrid. The electric motor draws its power from a 1.87 kilowatt-hour nickel metal hydride battery pack, and Toyota says this trim is good for 22 in the city and 24 on the highway, about 23 combined. It does run on regular gas. It has an 18.2 gallon fuel tank. You're looking at theoretically around 400-ish miles of range on a full tank on regular fuel. Now, Toyota doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time. We got 7.2 seconds on the TRD Pro a few months ago when we tested that. Top speed for this vehicle is probably around 110-ish miles an hour. That's my personal estimate. Towing capacity is around 6,000 pounds. Payload capacity for this trim is around 1,400 pounds. And this is the heaviest variant of the Tacoma, although it would be even heavier if I had the 6-foot bed. This one's the 5-foot bed. As this truck sits, it weighs in at just under 5,400 pounds, a little bit more versus the curb weight of the TRD Pro that I had a few months ago. Closing the hood, let's go ahead and talk about the exterior styling of the 2025 Tacoma Trailhunter. Now, I mentioned earlier, this color is called bronze oxide. It's technically a new color that Toyota introduced on this generation Tacoma. I'm not entirely sure if you can get this color on other trims. I've only typically seen it on the Trailhunter. In fact, Toyota also just introduced the Trailhunter variant of the 4Runner, which I also just had a chance to drive and see, in a new color called Everest Green. I'm hoping Toyota will offer that at some point. You can see the Tacoma's lines certainly are instantly recognizable as a Taco, although it takes some styling cues from the new Tundra as well. The Trailhunter gets its own unique version of the Toyota Heritage Grille with a bronze script for the Toyota logo. That's technically off-road driving lights. Below the Toyota logo, it's got the standard full 360 camera system. The headlights are the premium full LEDs, which include a sequential LED turn signal, LED daytime running lights, LED low and high beams. You can see the Trailhunter badge there is unique to this trim. I think that's a really cool touch, a nice detail. It's even illuminated at night to let everybody know you have a special Tacoma. This right here is a fake vent, however. I would have preferred if Toyota just left that out. On the new 4Runner, I think it looks better without that. And then you can see down here, you have the radar sensor for the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0. And then, of course, you have these Rigid Industries LED fog lights, which you can change the color from this yellow to a bright white at the push of a button, which I particularly love with the yellow look. It just looks incredibly JDM. The Trailhunter also includes its own upgraded steel skid plates underneath, although it's slightly different versus the TRD skid plates that you get, but it is hugely upgraded versus the aluminum skid plates on other trims. You have around 11.5 inches of ground clearance on this trim because it has around a 2-inch suspension lift up front and a 1.5-inch suspension lift at the back. Now, I want to also point out the snorkel, or not really snorkel, the high clearance air intake over here. This is exclusive to the Trailhunter model. This essentially just allows the vehicle to suck air higher up, which means the air is going to be a little bit cleaner versus being down here at the front where it'll be a dirty air, or it'll be sucking up dirty air. That is technically not a snorkel. So Toyota does say this truck is capable of fording up to 35 inches of water, but that is not a high clearance snorkel like what you'd find on some, aftermarket built off-road vehicles. Moving around to the side profile, this truck is continuing to be built on the TNGA-F architecture. It's a new body-on-frame design. This is particular one that I'm showing you. It has the 5-foot bed. So the Trailhunter is available only in the crew cab configuration, but unlike the TRD Pro, you can get it with a 5-foot or a 6-foot long bed. So this trim here, with its 5-foot long bed, has a 132-inch long wheelbase with a 214.7-inch overall length. It's also just under 80 inches wide, so it's a big truck. I mean, it's not as long as a Tundra, obviously, but it's almost as wide as a full-size truck from just a few years ago. Now, you can see that iForce Max badge there. Lets everybody know that you have the hybrid variant of the Tacoma, and you can see you've got these wider wheel arch trims. Unlike the TRD Pro, which actually has them in gloss black, this is a flat black that's unpainted. I think this is a better choice because it's not going to be showing as many scratches as a glossy black, so I think that that's actually a nicer addition that Toyota did. You can see the wheels. These are a unique bronze finished 18-inch wheel on a 265 by 70 R18 Goodyear Wrangler Territory all-terrain tire. It's a 33-inch tall tire, all disc brakes. The Trailhunter obviously includes an independent front suspension with unique Old Man Emu shocks by ARB. These are, again, tuned specifically for the Trailhunter. They are designed specifically for the Trailhunter. And it, again, gives you that 2-inch lift at the front. You also get these these frame-mounted rock rails down there along with the Trailhunter badge. That's of course going to give you increased strength when you guys are going further off the beaten path if you're off-roading. You can see the Trailhunter also includes body-colored mirrors. They're gloss black on the TRD Pro. I much prefer this look. Integrated turn signals. These mirrors, however, do not power fold. They're just manual. You do have a nice camera mounted underneath that for the camera system. And then you can see above me, no sunroof on this model, but you can get it, of course, with one of those ARB roof rail or roof baskets. But however, you can see here, that's the ARB kind of light bar. It's not really a light bar, but there is an LED light over here. This is, again, going to add strengthening to the actual truck itself. If you guys want to put a camper here, if you want to, put heavier loads on the truck in general, that's what the suspension is designed to do. You can see the rear also gets remote reservoirs for those ARB or the Old Man Emu shocks. Again, that's going to give this vehicle slightly different characteristics in terms of ride and handling, and also improve the off-road performance. I'll talk about that when we get the vehicle out on the road. You can see the styling of the Tacoma from the rear. I think this is a really handsome truck. Toyota pretty much nailed it in terms of the design. You can see there are a couple of unique styling cues here. You can see it boldly spells out Tacoma in the back. And that's stamped into the tailgate, that iForce Max badge there with the Beyond Zero badge. And then there is the Trailhunter badge there to let everybody know you have the Trailhunter. And then, of course, you get this unique steel rear bumper by ARB. That's actually shared with the TRD Pro. You also get the red painted recovery hooks. You also have a full-size matching spare, which is important if you guys plan to go off-roading. This vehicle, like I said, comes with a trailer hitch towing up to 6,000 pounds. Now, the one thing I really like about the new Taco is the upper trims will have a power opening and closing tailgate. And you can see with the 5-foot bed, my test car has the bed mat, and it also has a spray-in bed liner, which is definitely a nice touch. Or I'm sorry, it's not spray-in, it's a composite bed liner, so it doesn't really need that, but it has the mat there to help with even more durability. And then of course there is some LED lighting back here. You get a 120 watt, 2400 watt power outlet back here to power your accessories. And then of course, what's unique for the Trailhunter trim is you have a built-in air compressor. So this right here, if you turn that on, you can actually inflate and deflate your tires here right in the bed of the truck. It uses the battery that's of course on board. You also have 2 more USB-C charging ports there. This is a feature that only comes on the Trailhunter trim, and that could be something that could be a deal breaker for those of you looking at the TRD Pro. I kind of wish Toyota would offer this on the TRD Pro, but again, you have to get the Trailhunter to do that. If you're looking for the hose to actually fill up the tires, it's located in here in this little compartment. It even comes with this nice little bag where you can close this up to kind of keep it off to the side. The bed payload capacity, like I said, is just over 1,400 pounds. I believe the 6-foot bed version actually has a little bit of a higher payload capacity. I personally would go for the 6-foot bed because it'll give you an extra foot of additional space if you want to put a camper back here, if you want to sleep back here. So again, this is one of the reasons why the Tacoma Trailhunter is designed for overlanding duties, because it does give you that flexibility of the longer 6-foot bed, which is kind of a rare feature to find in the mid-size truck segment. Now moving on to the interior of the new Toyota Tacoma Trailhunter. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is Toyota's latest intelligent access key. The key itself is a decent size. It has the usual buttons for lock, unlock. You can also remote open the power tailgate and use the panic function. The key looks a little cheap on the back side here. I don't love the plastics of it, but at least it's not too bulky of a key. You don't even necessarily need to bring this key, because if you're an owner, you can easily use your smartphone as a key through the Toyota Connected Services app. But as you can see, approaching the door handle is unpainted on this trim. I forgot to mention that earlier. If you want to lock the door, just touch that button. You can see the doors will lock. It has that Toyota beep, although the mirrors, as you can see, don't fold. Touch the back of the door handle. You can see that will unlock the door for you. Unfortunately, Toyota only has the sensors on both front doors. If you try to do it on the rear door, there are no actual sensors back here. Now, looking at the interior, you can see on this particular trim, Toyota only offers it in one interior color option. This is called Mineral. It's a Mineral Softex, which is kind of like a grayish green color to the actual interior with the seats. It has this really nice copper contrast stitching and piping. Again, this is a fake leather, but it does feel pretty high quality. It also feels nice and plush. These seats are thankfully heated and ventilated. You also have a 12-way power driver's seat as well, which is a nice touch. Unfortunately, the Toyota Tacoma does not offer a 2-person memory function, so that's something that you can get, I believe, on some competitors. In terms of the door panel, you can see this upper portion is nice and leather stitched. It's also leather stitched over here and here. You also have this really interesting trim here that tries to look almost like a textured cement look with this plastic. There's also the big, bold Trailhunter badge here. The window controls, they are one touch for all 4, which is nice. They're also illuminated. You have a silver painted plastic door handle, additional storage here and down here. It's all hard touch plastic down here. There's also a 14-speaker JBL sound system, which also includes a removable speaker in the center if you want to take that, I guess, into your campsite, because it's a Bluetooth speaker. But overall, the interior definitely makes a great impression. And again, unlike the TRD Pro, these are not those really cool, crazy isodynamic seats. They're just a traditional seat in a unique color. Now, getting inside, there is no kind of assist handle here. And again, those are rock rails, not running boards. So getting inside, for somebody like my height, I have to kind of pull myself up here because it has nearly 12 inches of ground clearance as I shut the door. The door has a pretty solid sounding thunk, which adds to that impression of quality. And then starting the vehicle up, start-stop button is right here up high. And then because this is a full hybrid, you can hear the vehicle doesn't have a traditional starter noise. Instead, it kind of just whirs to life. The engine most of the times will come on, but sometimes it doesn't. It'll just say ready in the instrument panel. You can see all Trailhunters come standard with the digital 12.3-inch cluster. That is customizable. You can change the way the gauges look. You can change the look of the gauges as well. And then this trim also includes a head-up display, which is definitely an unexpected touch. In terms of materials, you can see this upper portion here is all hard touch plastic. That's the removable Bluetooth speaker that I mentioned earlier, which you can connect to your phone. It also will automatically charge right there when you have it docked, which is nice. The steering wheel is the latest Toyota truck steering wheel. It has a manual tilt and telescoping adjustment with a good amount of adjustability and range to kind of get comfortable. You have lots of buttons here for the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0. You also have your audio controls over here, traditional controls for the headlights, of course, which is nice. No paddles behind the wheel, but you do have some additional controls here for your headlight leveling, your instrument panel dimmer, your auto high beam switch. You can also open and close the tailgate here, along with adjusting the way the light bar, or adjusting the light bar, or turning on the light bar here for off-roading, and then changing the color of the fog lights. So right now it's orange because it's showing an orange color. Push that, it goes to white, that's showing a white color. So again, love how it's really easy to adjust the fog light color there. And then the fog light switch is just in the traditional sense there. And then all Trailhunters, of course, come with the big 14-inch touchscreen. This runs Toyota's latest audio multimedia interface. It has built-in a cloud-based GPS function, although it has to have a signal to actually have a functional GPS. It also includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I can't connect it to my phone right now because I actually have it, I'm using it to record, so it's going to mess up the audio, so it's not showing the CarPlay. Over in this area here, you can see more of that interesting stained concrete textured plastic with the big Toyota script with the kind of orange background for the actual Toyota script. There's a little bit of storage over here. Love the fact that Toyota gives you traditional knobs and vents, of course, manually adjustable vents. You have a volume knob, big dials for your dual zone climate control, your heated steering wheel button over here, which is definitely nice in these colder climates. And then you have heated and ventilated seats via actual buttons, toggles to control a few other audio functions. You have 2 USB-C charging ports, of course, and you have a wireless phone charging pad here. This controls the 8-speed auto, very traditional shifter. If I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's your full top-down 360 camera, which gives you trajectory. It gives you tow lines. It also gives you cross-traffic alert and cross-traffic braking. You can also look directly into the camera here where you can see what's inside your bed, which is cool. You can also go to a curb view there, a slightly different angle there, a front or a rear view. You can also turn on and off the dynamic lines. And you can also do a 360 perimeter scan if you'd like. So this is, again, really great technology. Toyota was always kind of struggling in this sense, but the Tacoma finally has a modern infotainment display with decent resolution and graphics. So really happy to see Toyota is making that standard on the top trims. They better, considering the price point of this vehicle. Now down here you can see a little more additional storage. You've got your drive mode selector and your 4-wheel drive switch over here. It's a traditional part-time system, so 2 high, 4 low. The one thing I wish Toyota would do is like an automatic setting. If you guys want a full-time system, only the Limited has that. This right here is your drive mode selector. There's an eco, normal, and a sport, and then there's also a multi-terrain select function where you can adjust that there, along with a downhill assist and crawl control, tow haul mode, and then of course your 4-wheel drive switches over here. Like how it's a very traditional dial, but again, an automatic function would be really nice to have, especially at this price point. You have relatively good sized cup holders here, nice padded center console. Open that up, you can see it's relatively deep. I can fit some of my camera equipment in there, which is nice for hidden storage. The seats, like I mentioned earlier, are pretty comfortable and supportive. It's not a real leather, but the heated seat function works well. The Softex feels almost like real leather, and it holds you in place nicely, although not as aggressive as the TRD Pro. This is still a really nice seat to spend, hours on if you guys plan on doing longer road trips. The JBL sound system also sounds good if you're an audiophile. Make sure you go for that option on the lower trims. You can see opening up the glove box, it goes into the dash. It's damped but not lined with felt. It offers a good amount of additional storage there. So overall, you can see the interior pretty much feels as nice as the TRD Pros, just with some different touches. I love the digital camera rearview mirror here. You have LED map lighting. What is missing, however, is a sunroof. You can't get a sunroof on the Trailhunter, and I suspect that's because Toyota expects you to put something on the roof. You can push this little button here, and that will open and close that sliding door or window back there, which is again a nice touch, although I wish Toyota put the full roll down window that you get on the Tundra. But as you can see, overall the interior definitely feels wide. You get a nice commanding view of the road, and it definitely feels like a higher or decent quality interior, but it's definitely not luxury. But most vehicles in this segment, most trucks in this segment aren't going to give you a luxury interior, but at least Toyota has finally caught up in terms of tech, and build quality seems to be really solid. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area and show you guys that space. Unfortunately, this is where the Tacoma is trailing the competition in terms of rear seat space, because first of all, you can't fold these rear seats up because this right here is where the 1.87 kilowatt hour battery pack lives. So this is where you lose the underseat storage that you typically find in some competing vehicles. You can, however, pull on that strap and then fold this down, which you will access, I believe, your jack and a little bit of storage there. There's your subwoofer for the JBL sound. This seat, however, is fixed, or not fixed, you can't recline it either, and you can't move this forward and back. So the space back here is definitely on the tight side. Material quality is hard touch plastic up in the upper portion, so it's a little bit downgraded. It is nice and padded here. More of additional storage down here along with hard touch plastic. There is a grab handle here at least, so if I want to get back here, you can see I can pull myself up, and this essentially is where I have the seat to drive for my driving position. And at 5'7", Toyota says there's only 33.7 inches of legroom back here. 33.7 is tight. In fact, it is better versus the TRD Pro, where it has those isodynamic seats that probably took up another 1.5 inches of legroom. So this is probably the one you want to choose if you actually need to put adults back here. Although again, it's still about 2 to 3 inches shy in terms of rear seat legroom space, even in the midsize SUV or midsize truck segment. You do have cup holders back here. You have a 120 volt power outlet, household power outlet, along with 2 USB-C charging ports. No flat floor here, obviously. which means it's going to intrude on the middle passenger. And then of course, Toyota doesn't even give you an armrest down here that folds down. These seats back here have the same nice soft text with perforations, but sadly these are not heated. It would have been nice if these were at least heated, especially at this price point. You have LED map lighting here, of course. And then in terms of the headroom space, because of the lack of sunroof, you do get a little bit more headroom, I believe, versus the TRD Pro. So overall, if you plan to use this as a family vehicle, it's going to be tight if you have taller friends, and that's precisely why the Tundra exists, to give you even more rear seat space. So here we are back behind the wheel of the fully redesigned Toyota Tacoma. In fact, this model here was kind of a surprise because I was not expecting Toyota to basically do two pinnacle of off-road trims. I mean, the TRD Pro has always been that vehicle for the Tacoma lineup, but the Trailhunter is essentially supposed to just be the more overland ready version. It's got a different suspension setup. You can get it with the 6-foot bed. It's got a different look. It's got some features that you can't get on the TRD Pro trim, and likewise you can't get some features from the Pro on the Trailhunter, but it does still continue to come standard with the iForce Max powertrain. So it's a 2.4 liter turbo with a 36 kilowatt electric motor, delivering up to 323 horsepower on this model, and that's because of the high clearance air intake. It's technically not a snorkel, it's just a high clearance air intake designed to suck in clean air as opposed to dusty air. But the last time I 0 to 60 tested a Pro on this same stretch of road, we got around 7.18 seconds. So let's go ahead and see what we can get in the TRD, or in the Trailhunter version, because this model here is about the same weight. We don't have the longer bed, so that would have made it a little bit heavier, but it's not because it's the same 5-foot bed. But let's go ahead and see what we can get here. I put it into 4-wheel drive. I have it into its sport setting here. We're gonna go ahead and brake torque it and see what we can get. Ooh. Interesting, 7.90 seconds there. Now, I don't believe the truck likes it when you brake torque, because I noticed it was very, very laggy when I first brake torqued it. So I'm gonna try another run up ahead and another run up ahead to see if we can get closer to the time that was set for the TRD Pro. This powertrain in sport mode definitely produces sounds that are a little bit more synthesized. It tries to sound a little more burly. And I actually do like the sound of the engine. The refinement of the engine is another story. You can feel some vibration coming through from the pedals, through the shifter, but that was kind of the case with the old V6 as well. So it's a truck. I can kind of give it a pass a little bit there because it is a truck. But let's try another run here. This time I'm not gonna brake torque it. I also switched it to 2 high as well. Definitely felt better there, but this is more uphill. 7.59 seconds there. So we'll try one more run up ahead and see if we can get closer to what the TRD Pro got. But this powertrain hooked up to the 8-speed auto is a really refined and just good powertrain in general. I actually really like the way this transmission with the engine, the electric motor performs. Basically what the electric motor does, it's a full hybrid system. It will essentially give you instantaneous pull off the line while the turbo, of course, is spooling up. And then when you put your foot down, you can actually hear the turbo spooling up, you can hear the whistling noises, and you can also feel the iForce Max portion, the hybrid portion, the electric motor, which only offers around 48 horsepower on its own, kind of giving you that instant pull while the gas engine kind of comes to life. And once the gas engine does come to life, it kind of takes over for the electric portion part. So it's really refined. Now the downside about this powertrain is it's not the most fuel efficient, which we'll talk about later on, but Toyota is the experts when it comes to hybrids. And even in low speed driving, I'm actually surprised at how smooth and refined this powertrain is. The transition between gas and electric and the combination of both is very seamless, and that's what you really prefer. The handling dynamics of this truck, I mean, it's a body on frame, it's got an independent front, live axle in the back, it's got those old man emu dampers by ARB, and the ride quality and handling dynamics in this thing, to me, feel refined enough because it is a body on frame truck, but it's definitely not sporty. That's not the mission of this. This is designed to give you the off-roading or the off-road prowess that you're looking for. It's designed to carry heavier loads at the back of this vehicle because Toyota is expecting people to basically put like a camper on the back of this thing or tow more because it's the Trailhunter version. It's designed again for more overlanding conditions, but it is a very good powertrain out on the road, and the ride quality is also smooth enough to where you could daily drive this and it's not going to beat you up. It was kind of the same thing, of course, with the TRD Pro, although I do notice that this feels like it's a little bit more of a softer, controlled ride. But let's try another run here. 7.23 seconds there. So that pretty much matches the 7.18. It's a smidge slower versus the TRD Pro. We'll take that as our best time. It is a little bit disappointing considering the fact that this truck has 323 horsepower, 465 pound-feet of torque. I was kind of expecting it to be maybe in the 6.5 second range, but the numbers don't always tell the full story because the mid-range grunt of this engine is just fantastic. That was the one thing about the old Tacoma, is that old V6 was just gutless because it had, you know, a high RPM reach level for the torque figure. You had to rev the crap out of the engine, and it also had that sluggish 6-speed auto. This 8-speed is just snappy. It's in the right gears all the time. It's a good partner for this powertrain, this engine, this, you know, combination. So even though the numbers are slightly disappointing, like a Ford Raptor and a Ranger Raptor is going to smoke this thing all day long, even the GMC Canyon AT4X is going to be quicker than this vehicle. So it is a little disappointing by the numbers, but at least by the feel, this truck feels really good when you're driving it around in day-to-day driving. But I'm going to switch the drive mode here into normal. There are no adaptive dampers, so it doesn't change the firmness of the suspension. It does change the throttle mapping, the transmission tuning. It also, I guess, gets rid of some of the engine synthesized noise that's coming through. But overall, the seats are comfortable. These seats don't quite hold you in place as nicely as the TRD Pro, but they also are still comfortable. They still do provide some bolstering, and the Softex in here feels really nice as well. They are heated and ventilated. I can easily get a good driving position. And in terms of noise, these all-terrain tires, that 33-inch tall tires, aren't as loud as I expected them to be. There's a good amount of wind noise, however. This model has more wind noise because of the ARB roof rack. It's got that light bar in the back. So that is, of course, adding more drag along the vehicle, which is going to lower the fuel efficiency. It's going to make this thing a little bit louder, but that's kind of a compromise you have to make. But it's still not like deal breaker loud. It's just going to be noticeable if you guys are, you know, test driving the other trims like a Limited, for example. And then, of course, there's the fuel efficiency, because in my week's worth of testing, I was only averaging around 16 mpg in mixed driving. That is not good at all. Now, on the city, it did go all the way up to 18, but on the highway, the best I could do was around 16. That's a far cry versus the 22, 24 that this truck is rated at. Now, it is very cold outside. It's been, as you can see, it's winter. It's been in the 30s, maybe even in the 20s and teens at times. So I imagine that, you know, maybe on a model that has a little bit more miles on it and more ideal weather conditions, I could get slightly better fuel efficiency because of the abysmal fuel economy that I've been getting in my week's worth of testing. The railroad range of this truck is only around 250 miles, which is awful. It's absolutely awful. It only has an 18.2 gallon fuel tank, which is a small tank for a vehicle of this caliber. So I'll be looking forward to getting this iForce Max powertrain in a 4Runner at some point, because I feel like I got a much better MPG rating in a Land Cruiser, which has the same powertrain. So all the off-road gear and the extra weight of this truck is dragging it down, and it's making it get worse for fuel efficiency. And of course, they're extremely cold temperatures. So overall, you know, you don't buy the iForce Max because it has better gas mileage. It's negligibly better. You do get it because of all the additional torque, because of the smoothness and refinement of the powertrain. Again, it is just there to give you more power. At the same time, it adds a lot of weight, so that does, you know, slow the 0 to 60 down compared to the non-iForce Max powertrain, just the gas-only variant. So I kind of wish the Toyota would offer the iForce without the hybrid on the higher, you know, off-roady trims, but you know, this is going to sit at the very top of their hierarchy. So if you guys are trying to decide between the TRD Pro and the Trailhunter, it's really going to depend on your personal usage. I personally like the look of the TRD Pro more, but those seats, while they're comfortable, they take up valuable backseat space. So for those of you who want something, you know, that you can, again, more practically use on a daily basis, you might want to definitely check out the Trailhunter. I'm just glad that Toyota offers two, you know, off-road high-performance variants of the all-new Tacoma. Now, with just over 192,000 units sold in America last year, the Toyota Tacoma remains the best-selling mid-sized truck in North America. Now, those numbers are slightly lower versus what Toyota did in 2023, but I suspect that has to do with the supply issues, of course, as Toyota was ramping up production of the all-new 4th generation. I suspect Toyota will probably go over 200,000 units again for 2025. In terms of the hybrid sales, the hybrid actually was a little bit of a later availability versus the gas-only variant, and the percentage percentage-wise, Toyota said that they only managed to sell around 9,400 units of the Tacoma Hybrid, which again, the Hybrid is limited to the TRD Pro, the Trailhunter, and you can also get it as an option on some of the higher trims of the Tacoma. I suspect the take rate will eventually become 25% to 75%, so only time will tell once we see the actual full sales figures for 2025 at the end or at early part of 2026. But overall, after spending a full week with the Trailhunter version of the Tacoma, I have to say, if you guys are interested in the ultimate off-road variant, it's really great how Toyota offers two different choices, because I've had a chance to spend time with the TRD Pro and the Trailhunter. Now, personally, I like the exterior design of the TRD Pro a little bit more, especially because Toyota offers it with those really slick isodynamic seats, which are kind of a class exclusive feature, but there's also some great features about this model here. I find the interior of this model to be a little bit better in terms of the seats, because you get more rear seat space, because those traditional seats in this car or in this truck don't actually take up more of your rear seat space. I love the fact that Toyota offers the 6-foot bed, which is going to be more useful if you guys actually plan to do off-roady things, more camping things. You're just going to get a ton more practicality with the extra foot in the length for the bed. And I also love that built-in air compressor. The hybrid powertrain can be either disappointing or a good thing. You have to kind of just manage your expectations, because even though this truck is a hybrid, it's not there for improving the fuel efficiency and getting basically, you know, Toyota RAV4 hybrid or Prius levels of fuel economy, because it's been extremely cold, as you can see in my weeks for the testing, and I really was not impressed with the MPG that I was getting around the 16 to 18 MPG mark. I'm hoping when I get a 4Runner with this powertrain at some point, it'll do over the 20 MPG mark. That's what it's supposed to get. But let me know in the comment section below if you guys own one of these new Tacos with the hybrid powertrain, and let me know what your fuel economy average has been as an actual owner. The suspension changes that Toyota has made for this truck, obviously, you know, keep it prime for off-roading, but it's actually a better driving truck on the road versus the last TRD Pro. I think the ride quality is a little bit better. The backseat space is a little bit more usable. The tech in this car is also fantastic. The look of this truck is also great, although again, I think the TRD Pro is a better looking version, but that's going to be, you know, all of course subjective. Now, if you guys are looking to put a new Tacoma Trailhunter in your driveway, what's it going to cost? Well, basically, the base Tacoma is going to cost around 31,000 bucks. That makes it relatively affordable by new car standards. However, if you want the hybrid powertrain, you have to spend at least $46,000. So it's a whopping 15 grand more, although Toyota does, of course, include several features, because you can't get the hybrid powertrain in the very base trims of the Tacoma, which, as you guys know, the SR5s, the SRs are pretty stripped down. Going for a Trailhunter is basically going to cost you just under $63,000. Remember, this sits at the top of the hierarchy, basically right next to the TRD Pro. Technically, the Trailhunter is about $1,000 less versus the TRD Pro. With options, small options that my test car has, you're looking at an as-tested price of just under $65,000. That's right, that price tag used to be for a Tundra TRD Pro just a few years ago. So it really just shows you how expensive, ridiculously expensive these vehicles have become. It is still a little bit cheaper versus the TRD Pro trim level, but again, if you're looking at fully loaded versions of like a GMC Canyon AT4X, it's going to be kind of similar in price. What is the bargain of this segment, however, is the Ford Ranger Raptor and the Colorado ZR2 Bison. So again, you have to basically want the hybrid powertrain in this vehicle. You have to want the Toyota nameplate. I mean, Toyota does come with that reputation for longevity and reliability, although I do think that the company has gotten a little too crazy with their pricing, especially at the higher end. But as long as you're okay with that and you're looking for the ultimate Tacoma, the Trailhunter should definitely be at the top of your list. But again, there's two different versions, so just make sure you choose the one that you're planning to use more on an everyday basis, depending on your lifestyle with how you plan to actually use this truck. With all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 Toyota Tacoma and the Trailhunter trim. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.